Hey guys, welcome back. Happy Saturday to you all. In today's video, we'll be talking about the latest updates around the Bitcoin market. We'll also be doing technical analysis of Bitcoin and strategy MSTR, what my price prediction of Bitcoin as well as strategy is. And, we hear a lot about how strategy eventually can become a $10 trillion company, given the fact that Bitcoin, is soon enough going to bypass all of the Mag 7s as the top asset class. And it's only going to be right behind gold. And as soon as Bitcoin takes the lead, becoming the top asset class, what does that mean for strategy? Strategy is just going to bypass all of the public companies. Why? Because they are transforming traditional finance. Why? Because they're stacking Satoshis right now. They have the biggest HODL. And at one point, when Bitcoin goes into the, 1 million, 10 million, $13 million, like in 20 years from now, think about how big strategy will be. We'll talk all about that. And let's say if you're new to this channel, first off, I would really appreciate hitting the like, subscribing for more related content, and you don't want to miss the epic video clips of Saylor at the end. Let's begin, guys. Let's take a look at this posting from HODL 15 Capital. So on the left, we see in orange Bitcoin mine versus, on the right in green, just how much activity we're seeing with Bitcoin purchases. So we see ETFs, just large amounts of global ETFs like BlackRock, IBIT, Fidelity buying up, just Bitcoin. We see so much Bitcoin being bought up at like cost averages of like 100,000 per Bitcoin. Strategy is also hodling. We see just huge numbers, as well as public companies such as Semler Scientific. We hear a lot about, new companies like in Brazil, Japan, buying up Bitcoin, even Tether, with 21 Capital buying up Bitcoin, along with El Salvador consistently buying. But when you look with the total amount of Bitcoin mined, so we know that the halving event took place in April 2024, where the mining difficulty got cut by half. So you see back in 2024, total amount of Bitcoins mined was around like 22,000. However, after that halving event, we see mining production just cut by half. What does that mean? Eventually, Bitcoin price is going to compensate. It's getting more and more scarce because of the difficulty with mining. So at one point, we're going to see supply and demand. Supply will become less. What does that mean? Demand will be increased. And this is just going to lead to a global supply shock, and that Bitcoin price is just going to hodl up. We'll talk a lot about price predictions in 2025, what my price prediction is going to be. But you see just with, BlackRock, over like 600,000 Bitcoin. Strategy is, over 560,000 Bitcoin. So, there's just no stopping right now until Bitcoin only just gets more and more depleted. Let's take a look at this posting from Fiat Archive. So just in one Bitcoin is worth the same as 1 kilogram of gold. Put that into context. So this block of gold costs 102,000. That equates to one Bitcoin. You scale out, 10 years from now, it might be zero point 0.1 Bitcoin that can buy this entire block of gold. So over the course of time, Bitcoin is just going to get more and more scarce. And, we're anticipating that the United States government, they're going to realize their gains with the gold certificates and use that money to buy up Bitcoin. Let's take a look at top asset class by market cap. So Bitcoin is ranked number 6 right now. It bypassed Google. It's right behind Amazon. At $2 trillion Bitcoin. Eventually, it's going to bypass Amazon, Apple, Nvidia. And then once Bitcoin price gets over 150,000 in this cycle, it's going to be in number 2. It'll bypass Microsoft at $3.3 trillion. So it's only a matter of time when Bitcoin is just going to be the top number 1 asset class by market cap. And what does that mean once Bitcoin becomes ranked number 2, ranked number 1? The companies with the biggest stacks are just going to capitalize. You put it into perspective right now, the Mag 7 companies like Microsoft, Nvidia, Apple, Amazon, the total cash that they have they can't even use that money to buy up the total amount of what MSTR holds on to right now, like 568,000 Bitcoin. They don't have enough cash reserve. What does that mean when Bitcoin price shoots up? Strategy is just going to be like the number one top asset company in the world. Let's take a look at this posting in that Texas Bitcoin SBR final vote is likely to occur next week. And if it passes the second reading in the House on Tuesday, May 20th, at one point, let's say Texas, we see it getting approved, having an SBR at the state level, having that be enacted into law. There's just going to be so much bullish activity going on. Now that we have New Hampshire, Arizona getting SBR approved, the dominoes have fallen. This is really just going to drive a domino effect with the remaining states to adopt Bitcoin Reserve. Texas is going to get approval and things are just going to send it to new levels with Bitcoin price. Saylor posts today, MSTR is winning the financial triple crown. First place this quarter, first place this year, first place since adopting the Bitcoin standard. Our strategy works because it's built on Bitcoin. What does that mean? I mean, they have a big HODL. I don't think there's going to be any company, not even 21, that will be able to catch up to their total supply. I mean, they have like 568,000 Bitcoin. There's no company right now that even has close to 50,000 Bitcoin yet, not even 100,000 Bitcoin. So you see MSTR leading the race at the quarter level on a yearly performance. Why? I mean, they're transforming how we look at traditional finance. Cryptos Are Us posts that Florida pension fund reveals buying 86 million worth of strategy shares. I mean, it's all around the United States right now. You have California, you have Ohio, you have like 14 states, Arizona, using pension funds to buy strategy. Why? Because everyone realizes that by buying shares of strategy, whether it's MSTR, MSTX, MSTU, Strife, Strike, MSTY through dividends, it will appreciate. It's accretive. Why? Because it's on the Bitcoin standard, and we do anticipate Bitcoin price to go up. And just with the volatility that we have with strategy, there's more return on capital. In fact, we see strategy dominating the performance of Bitcoin because of its business model, the way that it sets its strategy with the different levers. That's why there's so many, attraction towards this investment strategy. With all of that, let's pivot over to technical analysis. So we're looking at Bitcoin technicals, just from a large scale view. We see Bitcoin in this bull flag, since that all-time high run up back in like November last year. We had it retraced for several months. There was a lot of outflows. People lost trust. People started selling, in fact, panic selling, in fact, while the smart people with conviction in Bitcoin, dollar cost average down, dips are gifts when you look at Bitcoin. Why? I mean, it's a limited supply. Take advantage on these dips, study Bitcoin, embrace it. Don't just try to, do short-term trading and all that. Why? Because those who short Bitcoin will end up just getting smoked. So where we see current Bitcoin price right now at 103,000, we're seeing some healthy consolidation after that run up from like, low 70,000s. But the question is, are we going to see it break through its all-time high? I mean, we're only by about, less than 6% from the all-time high. But in 2025, I think in Q2, we may very well, get to the new level range of 120 to 140,000. We might have some slight pullback at that time before the next step up towards Q4 2025. We may very well have Bitcoin, get up to that $250,000, just where that price point of what Tom Lee is forecasting. So with Bitcoin price expected to have a bullish run up towards the end of the year. What does that mean for strategy? How high can strategy really go? Most of you are wondering, is now a time to buy, sell, dollar cost average, continue hodling strategy? I mean, when you look at it over the long-term course, strategy will have reverse splits. However, the market capitalization currently where it's at, multi-billion dollar company. Eventually, we're going to be talking about trillion dollars. It's going to bypass the Mag 7 companies. Based on technicals, we see price action, at that low 220, 240, that support level. We may not, get to those levels anymore. Or we saw that bounce out of that 50 to 200 day SMA. Relative strength is, it's consistently going up. Now we're going to retest that prior resistance. So we see some resistance level around that 440. So it's good to see, it consolidate around this range and then eventually have it bypass that prior resistance, have it flip the switch, then, stair step into level three, reach that prior resistance of 540. And let's say as Bitcoin reaches new all-time high, getting into 200,000, 250,000 by the end of the year, strategy can likely get to that four-digit range or even higher than that, breaking through that $1,000 threshold. So definitely some bullish upside, especially just with all of the inflows from, governments, from the state level, from retail, from financial institutions. In fact, BlackRock has a big amount of strategy HODL as well. So it's a win-win situation when Bitcoin price goes up. BlackRock capitalizes on strategies performance going up. So, with IBIT, BlackRock's ETF going up, that's only going to push up, Bitcoin price. So everything is on the Bitcoin standard. So definitely we see some huge upside.
Yeah, I mean, you can buy any amount of Bitcoin you want today as long as you pay a price. We buy $100 million an hour sometimes without moving the price. We bought 200 million an hour without moving the price. So you can buy any amount of Bitcoin you want. What's going to happen? It doesn't really. There's a limited supply because as the price doubles, people are going to put Bitcoin on the market to sell it. So what's happening is just there's 450 every day, and that's available for sale by natural sellers, the miners. That's about 40 million or $45 million a day. Once that 45 million has been bought, then the price has to move up to find a willing seller that's willing to sell at a higher price. And that's a dynamic that will continue forever.
I think the best way to get superior returns, 100x type returns, if you're an individual, would be you keep your day job, and so you maximize the cash flow you generate via whatever your profession is. You're responsible on your expenditures. You have to think in the year 2045, I think a Bitcoin's worth $13 million. So every Bitcoin that you don't buy is a $13 million cost. That Ferrari that you're going to buy is going to cost you like 6 Bitcoin. And so it's going to be $100 million Ferrari, right? If you look out 20 years. So you have to keep your job, unless you're insanely rich, don't splurge on the Ferrari, buy the 6 Bitcoin instead. And with regard to leverage, the intelligent leverage for the individual is generally long-dated, mid-dated mortgage debt. So if I have any kind of property, if I have a house, I would put a long mortgage on it, a 10-year mortgage or 15 or 20-year mortgage on it, especially a conforming loan. And then I would roll into Bitcoin because mortgage debt is not mark to market. It's against an asset which is fairly stable. Normally, the interest rates are somewhat subsidized by a Fannie Mae or a Freddie Mac program or a government program. So it's the cheapest form of permanent capital that someone can get. So, I give you what you shouldn't do. You shouldn't quit your job. You shouldn't splurge on sports cars you can't afford. Don't buy a yacht because it's obscenely expensive, and don't pay off your mortgage. Don't get debt free. Any capital you have that's not marked to market capital would be better invested in an asset that's going up 30% a year for the next 20 years.
So there you heard it from Saylor. Bitcoin price will continue to go up. Now, most of you are wondering, Saylor, will he become richer than Warren Buffett in the future? All of this is really changing traditional finance. MSTR stock eventually can be the next like Berkshire Hathaway. So Thank you guys for stopping by for another episode. I hope you enjoyed this. And if you haven't already done so, I would really appreciate hitting the like, subscribing for more related content. I'll catch you on the next one. Take care.